Tears of the Kingdom was a smash hit in 2023, selling over 20 million copies. However, opinions have soured on Tears of the Kingdom much quicker than Breath of the Wild. Now, it's always going to be tough to follow up on one of the best games ever made, but maybe it's because Breath of the Wild just did some things better than Tears of the Kingdom. Today, I'd like to focus on that point, what Breath of the Wild did better than Tears of the Kingdom, plus also I've got some other Zelda creators along for the ride. Well, before I get into it today, if you enjoyed this video, then subscribe for more Zelda content, plus huge thank you to CM30, TuneForge, Gabeora, PixelFusion, and also Windwaker Hyrule. Now check out the description for the links to their channels, and I promise you won't be disappointed. Without further delay, let's dive into some of the things that Breath of the Wild did better than Tears of the Kingdom. And first of all, it's the Guardians. So Sheikah Tech is missing from Tears of the Kingdom, and mostly I don't really mind about this change. However, we don't have Guardians in Tears of the Kingdom, which provided a sense of dread every time Link would explore the overworld in Hyrule. I still remember that first time I laid my eyes on a Guardian thinking, what the heck is this thing? Only to be destroyed moments later, learning quickly I should fear these multi-legged monsters. Tears of the Kingdom also has threats in the overworld, but there's nothing quite as terrifying as the Guardians from Breath of the Wild.
Hey guys, I'm CM30 from Gaming Reinvented. I've already made a video about things Breath of the Wild does better, so I'll keep my answer here quite brief. Basically, the champion abilities in Breath of the Wild are far better than the sage ones in Tears of the Kingdom, and there are two reasons for that. Firstly, the sage avatars are plain annoying to use. They're not near you when you need them to be, and they're too near you when you want to collect stuff. What's more, in the case of Minoru, they have a tendency to get you killed because they have reckless stupidity too, and their abilities don't help much either. Tulin's is fine when gliding, but virtually useless when on the ground, with the latter effect being a liability when trying to collect items. Rejuice is literally outclassed by bomb and topaz arrows, and Sidon's is better used power-up Zora weapons than as actual shield or attack. Yunobo's is decent though it's mostly just an infinite way to blast through rock walls rather than to attack enemies. Meanwhile, Minoru's construct is a mess in its own right. It's slow, it's clunky, its attacks do barely any damage, and with the wrong arm attachments, it actually becomes more dangerous to Link than anyone who's trying to fight. Back in Breath of the Wild, on the other hand, the abilities were all useful and all easy to use. They were tied to Link's moves rather than sage avatars, so you could use them at will, and their effects are always beneficial to a player. Mipha's Grace, free fairy that auto recharges, Daruk's Protection, instant parry system that can negate full damage, Urbosa's Fury, an easy way to blast powerful enemies and stun them, including story bosses and Lynels, and Revali's Gale doesn't even need explaining, it's flat out broken in that game, and trivialises about half the dungeons in the process. So yeah, the champion abilities were better in Breath of the Wild, with the sage ones being annoying to use, weak and awkward.
Well, next up we've got the Shrine Trials. So I really like the Shrine Trials in Breath of the Wild. These boss battles against mini Guardians really taught you a few things about combat. While these shrines in Tears of the Kingdom are very, very good, I don't think they're quite as good as the ones in Breath of the Wild, particularly the Shrine Trials. The shrines in Tears of the Kingdom are very puzzle focused, and while I do enjoy them, there's nothing really like going into a shrine trial and applying a beatdown to a mini Guardian.
What's up guys? My name's Will from TuneForge Theory. If you love to write, play, or learn about music, come check it out. Oh, and if my audio quality sucks right now, I'm sorry, I am on the road at the moment and having to record through my phone, so I hope it doesn't sound too crappy. Things Breath of the Wild did better than Tears of the Kingdom. Alright, for this I got 2 points, one of them musical, to keep with the channel theme. Number 1 is that Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, does a better job of maintaining a distinct musical identity than Tears of the Kingdom does. Every Zelda game more or less has its own unique sound that distinguishes it from all the other games. Wind Waker is cute and sometimes Celtic, Link to the Past is grand and orchestral even though it has some hardware limitations, and Breath of the Wild is intimate and subtle, very piano-centric, fitting the aesthetic of the game, with each track either bringing something new to the franchise or putting a very Breath of the Wild spin on an older track. Now, Tears had a lot of potential, and in fact, the new tracks it brings along, I'd say are often even better in this category than Breath, with its sweeping orchestra, weird but really cool erhu and saxophone combo, and also weird reversed voice sounds, but it unfortunately reused most of Breath's overworld soundtrack and didn't fully lean into that new musical identity. And number 2, this is a bit of a nitpick maybe, but Breath of the Wild did better at shrine placement, in my opinion. Every shrine in that game feels like it naturally belongs in the environment it's placed, almost seamlessly becoming a part of that environment. While to me, it did kind of feel like most of the tier shrines, or at least the overworld ones, not so much the Sky Island ones, it seemed as if they weren't designed or placed in quite the same natural way. Many of them just felt like someone randomly stuck a big glowy rock in the ground at random. Maybe most people didn't experience this, but I did just a little bit.
Well, next up we got Link's Breath of the Wild abilities. So yes, in Tears of the Kingdom we got Fuse, Ultra Hand, Ascend and Recall. They are great, but you could probably make a game featuring Ultra Hand alone. But one part of me misses some of the abilities from Breath of the Wild. Having the ability to create bombs on demand was a fantastic feature. Plus Stasis gave us the ability to freeze enemies or freeze platforms in the water. Another invaluable tool. I remember countless situations in Breath of the Wild where the bomb rune got me out of a sticky situation, and while Link's abilities in Tears of the Kingdom are great, I do sometimes miss Link's Breath of the Wild abilities as well.
Hey guys, PixelFusion here. Thanks for having me. I generally do Zelda videos about theories, analysis, and that type of stuff. As for what Breath of the Wild did better than Tears of the Kingdom, I would say connections to past continuity. Breath of the Wild was created in a way that left certain aspects of the past open to interpretation, and there are more than a few references to past games in it. From dragon portals in the Cloud Barrier, to girls talking about loft wings, and even equipment that references entities by name. In many ways, I feel Tears of the Kingdom pulled back on this, choosing instead to give alternate explanations, and generally tries to further excuse itself from the timeline. I know there are those who feel it is in the timeline, but there are enough points of conflict that I and other prominent creators have ruled it its own continuity, a reboot. Thanks again for having me here. I'm always happy to chime in with my input.
Hello, I'm Gabeora. I mostly make short theory videos on TikTok and YouTube with the occasional long-form theory video thrown in there once in a while. The question is, what did Breath of the Wild do better than Tears of the Kingdom? I think Breath of the Wild did an amazing job capturing our imaginations with unsolved mysteries, whether it was the identity of the 7 Gerudo heroine statues, the Leviathan skeletons, the Forgotten Temple, or trying to piece together if all these new landmarks revealed Breath of the Wild's timeline placement. I think the way that they left everything so vague and mysterious led to our imagination just taking over, and that's how countless theories were born. When I think back on Tears of the Kingdom, although there are obviously some things we'll still keep theorizing about, there are nowhere near as many burning questions as we had with Breath of the Wild, and those kept us busy for literal years. I'll always cherish watching those theory videos and arguing with strangers online about what it all means.
Well, next up we got the Champion's abilities, and specifically I'm talking about Revali's Gale. Revali's Gale was a game changer in Breath of the Wild, allowing Link to leap up high into the air with the power of the Rito propelling him. Now, we got the Sage's Vows in Tears of the Kingdom, and in their own right they are very good abilities. Back in Breath of the Wild we had Mipha's Grace, Revali's Gale, Daruk's Protection and Urbosa's Fury. And Tears of the Kingdom took a different approach by having characters fight alongside Link, rather than applying the ability to Link directly. It's a different approach and each one has its pros and cons. However, I really do miss Revali's Gale and what that brought to Link in Breath of the Wild.
Hello, my name is Joe Kendrick. You can find me on YouTube at Windwaker Hyrule. I run a YouTube fan project called Windwaker Unflooded, where I'm 3D modeling the land of Hyrule as it could have existed within the world and art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. These are things Breath of the Wild did better than Tears of the Kingdom. First off, it was new. Tears of the Kingdom iterated really well on a formula, but Breath of the Wild created that formula. I remember the first time I played Breath of the Wild, it was 2019. I felt like I was getting to it late. But already, I had never played a game like that before, even comparing it to other open world experiences or other Zelda experiences. That game just, it totally redefined what Zelda could be, what a game could be. what you could do and the freedom that it gave you, I was in love with it. I had just never experienced anything like it before. It had this huge overworld, this huge map of Hyrule that was designed specifically for it. When Tears of the Kingdom ended up coming out, it reused the same overworld, but it wasn't designed for that game. It was designed for Breath of the Wild. And all of the shrines, NPCs, side quests, everything in the world was designed for that game, for that version of the map, for the Breath of the Wild experience. That's something that I really do think holds Tears of the Kingdom back, just the fact that it's reusing the map, but the map wasn't designed for Tears of the Kingdom. And you see that all through the game in little ways. There's just little mountains that you climb, and you find that there's nothing at the top, or what's at the top is not as rewarding as what was at the top of the mountain in the previous game. Just the fact is, the map was designed for Breath of the Wild, and that's the game that took advantage of that overworld the best, even if Tears of the Kingdom adds on to it in meaningful ways. The fact is, I do love both games. I love Zelda, I love the whole series. Both games mean so much to me, but there are things that Breath of the Wild does better than Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, finally for my list, I've got Kass. So Kass was our wandering Rito friend who would regale us with tales from the past through his songs. As well as telling us about the past, he would also find secret shrines, and that cemented him in many Breath of the Wild fans' hearts. If you want to gauge how much Kass is missed, simply look up Kass Tears of the Kingdom on YouTube, and you're going to find hundreds of videos calling for Kass to return. Kass is nowhere to be found in Tears of the Kingdom, albeit with a very small reference from Pen. So Kass was such an important character in Breath of the Wild, he featured in the DLC, The Champion's Ballad. Once again, huge thank you to CM30, TuneForge, Gabeora, PixelFusion and Windwaker Hyrule for getting involved in this project, and make sure you go and check them out through the links in the description. So let me know in the comments what you think, and let me know what you think Breath of the Wild did better than Tears of the Kingdom. Well, that is it today for the things that Breath of the Wild did better than Tears of the Kingdom. And as always, thank you so much for watching or for listening. Don't forget you can hit that subscribe button down below for even more Zelda content. Well, thanks again, and I will see you very soon.